Good morning. You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? It's a beautiful Friday. Sheryl Swoopes had a come to Jesus meeting, and Sheryl Swoopes did an about face. Indiana Fever. Sheryl Swoopes says they can win a championship. That one is a tough task. And two questions I have. Can the Indiana Fever win a WNBA championship this year? And the other question I have, do the Indiana Fever going to be able to execute and win and make Caitlin Clark the superstar, right? That's my question, and really, it really puzzles me. This thing here I've looked at it a couple times, and let me tell you why it puzzles me. You got Stephanie White's got an offense, right? And you brought in the players, and the players are really not individual. They're kind of what you call players that execute within an offense, right? And Caitlin Clark last year, phenomenal. And I want everybody to understand this, because when I tell you I like Caitlin Clark, I wouldn't have changed anything with Caitlin Clark. As a general manager, I would have said, look, this is a process. And here's where it's got me, where the Indiana Fever, everyone, what they're called today is a paper champion, right? They look great on paper. Now, that doesn't mean it won't come together. Here's the deal, what I'm saying. For the Indiana Fever to win a championship, you're going to have to cut Caitlin Clark's numbers down in Stephanie White's system. It's impossible. I've looked at all the players. I looked at what they do. I look at the spots they shoot. It's very, very difficult to win, right? And for Caitlin to have the same success. And I think that where you're going to have a little problem or a challenge, because with Sheryl Swoopes, basically, Sheryl's going to be Sheryl. I mean, that's a come to Jesus meeting, right? Oh, the Indiana Fever can win the championship. And, okay, yeah, they can win a chip. I mean, and I talked about the chocolate and the chip. I mean, it's chocolate chip cookies. Sheryl Swoopes now likes the Indiana Fever because she has players on there that are now playing for the Indiana Fever. Now, what does that mean? How do you put that into perspective that allow you to say to yourself, here's the deal. The Indiana Fever, Sheryl Swoopes, is like the mother of the church. And folks, in an African-American community, we have mothers in the church, right? And these are the mothers who kind of mentor and take care of everybody, right? So when I look at the WNBA and I look at Lisa Leslie and I look at Sheryl Swoopes, they're going to be the mothers of the church, right? They've been with these WNBA players for a long time, right? Prior to anybody being on TV, they didn't need any cameras or anything like that. So I'm trying to understand how the Sheryl Swoopes says the Indiana Fever, because of these players that they have, can win the championship. And that's where the off balance is going to come. And what do I mean by off balance? It's going to put you in a position where if the Indiana Fever win a championship, Caitlin Clark won't be the star, right? Because it's not designed that way into how Stephanie White runs a ball club, okay? And how Stephanie White puts in her mind. And you only can go by the way you won, right? What happened? How did you win a championship? That's your memory bank, right? But it really doesn't fit Caitlin. And like I said, I would have been a little bit more cautious. I would have kept everything together, because Chelsea Mitchell can never get the same numbers anymore, right? So you're going to see numbers come down, and that's where it's going to challenge the Indiana Fever of how much success they're going to have. Because to be a pro and to know, like, you're getting players from the Dallas Wings, right? And you look at Natasha Howard, and I look at that and I said, well, wait a minute. Why wasn't Dallas strong last year, right? And how come Natasha Howard had success last year? Well, you got Enrique. And you got to look at it, that's a big load coming off your shoulder where all the focus goes. But getting back to it, there's a certain way you can play basketball. You can't really flip it around. And I like Caitlin. And my Indiana Fever, okay, to win a championship, I'm not worried about Caitlin Clark, right? Because Caitlin Clark is done. That one there, done. You don't have to worry. I'm worried about the other players the Indiana Fever have and how they're going to execute and executes White's system. And if that doesn't happen correctly. Now, the players you get, you're giving up something, because Howard's going to average 18, 20 a game. So whose minutes, whose points, whose shots is she sucking up? Because there's only one basketball. And when you only have one basketball, folks, I will tell you, that's going to make it difficult for the Indiana Fever. Now, I'll tell you, TGIF, good morning to you. I got a good cup of coffee. And I talked a little bit about my colleagues. It's Money Mike. And, you got the Indiana Fever podcasters, man. You guys got some hot tickets out there. But they believe. But here's the thing that I don't get it, and it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to watch this thing unfold. But normally a team that wins this way, okay, when you go in and get players, the players have got to be a complement to what you want to accomplish. These players are speaking loudly how much they love Caitlin, and Caitlin can take care of Caitlin. Caitlin is a McDonald's All-American, right? This is not her first rodeo being around African-American players, okay? And, she's been in this. Her father's been there. She stands tall. Caitlin can take care of Caitlin. I'm just wondering how you're going to integrate all these other players to execute this out and say you can win a championship, because the New York Liberty aren't going anywhere. New York Liberty are going to three-peat. That's really what I see the New York Liberty doing, because the New York Liberty put this together in 3 years. 3 years they put this plan together, right? And the New York Liberty have won a championship. Adding a piece here and a piece there, New York Liberty are going to get stronger, right? But you say the Indiana Fever can win. I have no idea, okay, of how the Indiana Fever are going to get past the Las Vegas Aces. I don't. When you take Chelsea Gray, Jewel Lloyd, and Asia Wilson, that's 3 MVPs, right? That's 3 players that can get it in no matter who they play with. You got young. You got a tall task. Okay, because you got to remember this. While all these players look great, they all have to play defense. And to play defense in the style, they have to bring tempo down. And you're saying you want to run, and then you mention, again, I wouldn't have touched anything. So I want everybody to be 100 crystal clear. Money Mike, okay, Caitlin Clark, what she did last year, I would have built on top of that. Now what we're doing is we're saying, Caitlin, you're great. Now we're restructuring, right? We're restructuring. We're adding another trust on the house, right? And so what we're trying to do is build it out. And man, this is difficult because when you look at it on paper, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense like Stephanie White says, I want to run, but the players you got are not runners, right? They're not runners. They're not wing players. And here's the thing, the switching defense, the Fever got to go man to man because everybody's geared up with shooters. When they play against the Fever, they know you're switching. The shooters are going to come. And adversity now. All this time, Caitlin Clark is not a rookie. There should be no excuse. I think the Fever, really, if they got it right, let's say it was a perfect world, they could start the season 8-0. The first 8 games are designed because she had a tough start last year and played all those games. You got a lot of space. You got a lot of breathing time. You got the same player coming back, which is Boston, Mitchell, okay, Caitlin Clark. Those are the ones coming back. All these other players, you can sing a dance or you can sing a song, right? And I get it now. I really do. And with Caitlin, I always tell you I feel bad for Caitlin because it's a target on the back. What do I mean by that, folks? And you guys know what I say about Juju. That's me. I'm in California. But understand this. Just because you're the best player in one state, don't make you the best player in another state, right? And Caitlin was in Iowa. What was Caitlin? It's really a scouting dream. You got a big fish in a small pond, right? That's what Caitlin is. Caitlin is a big fish in a small pond. Now, if Caitlin would have been in L.A., that would not have been the result that you would have had for Caitlin Clark playing against the talent in L.A., right? So you got to look at that and say, Caitlin Clark, I'm not worried about her. I like Caitlin's game. I wouldn't have changed anything. Here's what I'm saying. When I say it wouldn't change, I would have let the Fever roll what they had. I would have said, okay, well, maybe you got a couple players here we're going to have to let go, right? We know we got to get rid. Grace is not going to do it. Samuelson. Okay, we know that. We know we got the veteran guard, Wheeler. We're going to have to go ahead and move on. I would have got 3 little complimentary players and kept everything the same. But when you rip out, okay, when you really gut the house out, right? And we're talking about real estate contracting. when you gut the house out and you got to put the electrical wiring and the plumbing back in, you got to look at it. You got to bring this thing up to code. And when you look at what's going on here, man, this one here, it really puzzles me because I don't know what the outcome's going to be. And if I don't know what the outcome's going to be, then that's going to be challenging. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast brought to you to Hot Media under the umbrella of Rock Nation Sports. What is I'm trying to say? I'm saying I'm going to wait and see. Sheryl Swoopes had a come to Jesus meeting and now says the Indiana Fever can win the championship because they have chocolate chips. She likes the black players on the team, right? But Money Mike says, I don't see it that way. I think the orchestra or the band is going to take a little bit more time to get together because the competition level is so high. And it's going to be rough. I mean, you got three-headed monster coming at you with Dallas, and I'm telling you, Dallas, you got Lanissa Smith, right? Think of the three-headed monster. Everybody's got a three-headed monster to face the Fever. You got Lanissa Smith, ain't no doubt about it. You got Enrique, and you got Dejanay. Now, really, what are you going to do with that? Really, because now you got a matchup, right? And some of these players, they ain't going to back down, these youngsters. Right? The youngsters don't know how to back down. Angel Reese from Baltimore is a youngster. That's what we call a youngin'. And the youngin' don't know no better. She don't know that I'm not supposed to do what I'm doing. And that's going to be a problem, right? Because you got to play defense, and defense is blood, sweat, and tears, right? But if any one of these players loses their mind, right? Think about it. Any one of these players gets volatile for the Fever, it's going to throw the whole rotation off, right? And Stephanie White might end up with more technicals. I'll tell you, two things are going to happen this next year. The Indiana Fever are going to give up more threes than anybody in the league, more three-point shots, right? Because we're switching everything. So that means we could offset that. Now, you're going to have a lot of technicals, right? Because some White's got to protect Caitlin. And Caitlin, man, let me tell you something about Caitlin Clark. I really, like I tell you, I like Caitlin. Caitlin has said some of the most inhuman things to officials I've ever heard in my life. And you know what? You get on 41 national TV games. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to be hot mic'd, right? When you're hot mic'd, you're going to hear what people are saying. And, Caitlin is really good, but Caitlin's not the kind of player you can mic up. Let's be honest, because she says some things to officials. Man, I have to shake my head, right? I mean, she goes way past Kim Mulkey, right? Kim Mulkey says some bad things to officials. Caitlin Clark goes off the chart, like, you are the worst thing I ever seen in my life. How did you even get in this building? I mean, it gets blood and it gets ugly, right? And when you start saying things, that's just Caitlin, right? And Caitlin been doing that all her life. But it's going to heat the volatility up in a lot of buildings because when that happens, man, it's going to be a volatile season. And you got 41 dogfights. Everybody's coming for the Indiana Fever. I mean, as a paper champion, I don't like that kind of game. I like to build in, and I know in professional sports and all my years of covering the sports, winning a championship is a process, right? And, Kelly knows this. Kelly says, well, it's probably be about another 3-year process, right? This is just the first year. You got 2 more years to go for the Indiana Fever to win. Money Mike says the New York Liberty are going to three-peat, right? The only one can jump on that throne and take them down is going to be the Las Vegas Aces, and that's going to be Becky Hammon. And Becky Hammon's a pro, so you got to look at that. Now, the reason I like the Chicago Sky because they're young. They're young, and I'll tell you folks in closing, I seen Bonner, Camila Cardoso treat her like a rag doll. Right, that's a big 7-footer swatting rim protector. They're young. Ariel Atkins is young, right? You're going against these old vets, they ain't gonna be able to log all these minutes, right? Because now you got to go hard on national TV. Because what happens when you get on national TV, you got to remember you're getting everybody's A plus game, right? You get them off national TV, you may get an A game, a B game, a C game. Who cares? When you get everybody on national TV, you getting the A plus game out the players. That's a tough dogfight. Indiana Fever winning the championship, paper champion. Yes, they are. Loving Caitlin Clark, got a target on her back, and I don't know if the offense fits. That's the only thing I'm saying. I mean, if this works, this will be the first time I've seen anything like this in my life, that you can get a group of players who play in an offense, and you can still maintain Caitlin Clark's star power, right? Because Caitlin's going to be the one that's going to suffer. And I don't know if the Indiana Fever are satisfied with winning a championship and Caitlin Clark scoring 10 points a game. You got to show it to me, but we'll soon find out. All things are possible. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. I will tell you this, if they win, salute. I think the Liberty of three-peat, and I think they're going to catch hell opening night against Chicago. In any one of those first 8 games, it don't work, man. It's going to be back to the grind. All right? Stay tuned. We'll see.